Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. So we are going to continue on the third part of the chapter 1, Introduction to the Corporate Finance, that is on the agency problem and control of the corporation. Okay, under this subtopic, we will touch on the definition of the agency to describe what is the agency relationship and what is the possible agency problem that could arise between the agent and principal, and what is the company methods or way or approach to mitigate the problem of agency problem, which is known as a control mechanisms, and what is the cost incurred arising from the control mechanisms. Okay, so agency relationship, based on the agency theory, it is uh, defined as occurs when one party, so this party we call it as the principal, employs another party, which we call it as the agent, to perform a task on behalf of the principal. Jadi in a company, we know that the shareholder is the owner of the company, and however, being the owner of the company, the shareholder does not involve in a daily routine, day-to-day business operation. So the shareholders will appoint people or party to act on behalf of the shareholders, which is the owner, to run the business, to do the daily routine of the business, which we call it as the agent here, which normally refers to the directors or managers. So these directors or managers will act on behalf of the shareholders. So the shareholders is regarded as their principals and owners. So the agent is subject to follow the instructions given by the principals and owners or the shareholders, and the agent also must act for the best interest of the shareholders. Okay, the second one is in the agency relationship, since the shareholders already appointed directors and managers, so we identify these people as a board of directors. Okay, so together with the appointment, normally the shareholders will also delegate the authority or delegate power, okay, that is to lay down in the contract of appointment of directors and managers. So as a part of this arrangement, the owners must delegate decision-making authority to the management in a contract between the owners and managers. And for that purpose, the managers must always and ensure that they are act in the best interest of the shareholders. Okay, however, for number 3, we can see that there's a personal interest. So sometimes it's very impossible to arrange the perfect contract. Decisions by the managers or agent usually affect both the interests of the managers as well as the interests of the owners. Okay, so the managers will need or make sure that they always strive for giving the best interest for the shareholders and cannot pursue for his personal interest over the interest of the shareholders. Okay, if you look at the organization chart, so the organization chart, the management start from the board of directors. So you can see that the shareholders not in the part of the organization chart. Shareholder is considered as the external party. Okay, so the company is run by the board of directors or the board members, and the board of directors will appoint the chairman of the board and the CEO, chief executive officer, to oversee, to monitor the business operation. And this chairman or CEO will be assisted by the management team. Okay, so management teams consist of the financial officer, the treasurer, the controller, the administrator, the operation manager, which is the sometimes we call it as the COO, Chief Operation Officer, CAO, Chief Administration Officer, or CFO, Chief Financial Officer. So under this, the key people, so they will again appoint some employees to assist them. That is the managerial level, the managers. Okay, then the managers will be assisted by the executive and the clerical levels. Okay, so agency problems or conflict arise when there's a possibility where the managers or board of directors not act for the best interest of the shareholders. Okay, there's a possibility of a conflict of interest between a principal and agent. Such a conflict, we call it as the agency problems. So what are the factors? What are the factors that contribute to the agency problem or conflict? So we can see various factors can come from. Number one is the moral hazard, effort level, earnings retention, risk aversion, time horizon. Okay, for the moral hazard, a manager that has no ownership in company tend to pursue more in getting the benefit in kind. So meaning that if the manager does not hold any shares in the company, that means this manager will try to get a benefit for its own, for example, like high salary, high director's remuneration, high wages, high bonus, okay, only for the benefit of themselves. So they don't care on company performance, whether the company is doing well or whether the company is in bad conditions. They are looking for the higher perks or fringe benefits. Only they concern on their benefit. Okay, effort level. If the manager does not have ownership, managers is not the owners, the managers will not push much effort or work less hard than they would if they own the company. So if the manager is also the owner, of course the manager will put an extra effort, because being the owner, the manager are expecting to get a dividends uh, when the company is doing well. And as the manager, the if the company is doing well, the manager will get betterment in terms of the benefits, salary increments, maybe higher bonus, and etc. Okay, earnings retention means that that also will contribute to the conflict. Why? Because sometimes manager prefers to retain earnings for expansions, for growing, which is good. Okay, which is good. But if the company make a policy, means the managers make a policy to retain majority of its earning, let's say 90% or 95% of the earnings will be kept for expansion program, will be kept for financing the project. So that means only 5% or 10% left for the distribution of dividend, which is the shareholders is receiving less. Uh, but this is good actually if for a long term, when the business put a lot of investment for the business expansion, so the business will grow. So the this project, if it brings revenue, that will increase the cash flow. So of course the cash flow of the business, if it is good, okay, the profit, if it's good, it will return back to the shareholders in the form of dividend. Okay, risk aversion means sometimes managers dare not to take risk, high risk. They are not there. They're not there to take high risk. They are risk averse managers. That means they know that if they take risk, that will give high return, high risk, high return. But since they want to protect their positions, they are afraid of losing jobs. They want to secure the positions, so they prefer to invest in a project that give low return because of the low risk. So they don't, or they have got no guts or not so brave enough to invest in a project that give high return, even though that project is high risk. So definitely, if the project will increase the share price of the company, increase the value of firm, the company should invest, because increase the value of firm, increase the value of shareholders, maximize the shareholders' wealth. That should be the objective of the or goal of the managers. Okay, time horizon means shareholders are concerned on the long-term financial prospects, whereas managers might only be interested in the short term. So survival of the company is more important. So that's why investing in a project that give high revenue, high income is good for the long prospects, for the survival of the company in the long run rather than in the short term. So most managers, they are looking at the short-term benefits, how much they will get for the short-term benefits rather than long-term benefits. It can be explained by the Malay proverb who says that sepatutnya is bersusah-susah dahulu, senang-senang kemudian. So that shows that concern on the long term rather than short term. Short term, we are uh, try to having a maybe we are in a difficult situations, okay, difficult situations. Maybe the project does not turn out as what we expect. Maybe the profit is small, but in the long run, so after the project is almost completed, after our products is well accepted by the customers, in that period, maybe the company can get a better returns. Okay, so these agency conflicts or agency problems needs to be overcome. The company must have some mechanisms, and these mechanisms or approach to tackle, to mitigate the issue of agency problem will incur some costs, which is the agency cost. So agency costs are the costs that the shareholders incur when professional managers run the company. Okay, so the cost to resolve the conflict, the cost to overcome the problem between the managers and shareholders are called as agency costs. So these agency costs don't exist when the owners and managers are the same persons. So this is like the private limited company where normally the owner is also the shareholders. However, if the owner appoints someone else, so then agency conflict would arise and agency costs will start as soon as some of the shareholders are not also directors of the company. And this agency cost would potentially very high in the large companies where there are many different shareholders, there are many professional managers in a big company. Okay. Next is the divisions of the agency costs can be divided into direct and indirect. So what are the direct agency costs? Normally, this is the cost of monitoring the agency actions and performance of managers. For example, we the Act, Companies Act requires the managers to prepare the accounts, to prepare the audited accounts, to appoint, to hire the external party who is the auditor to verify the financial statements. Okay, so the investment made by the shareholders or the debt holders need to be explained in a financial statements. So this preparation of financial statements can be part of the cost of monitoring the performance of managers. And hiring of the accountants, hiring of the auditors, this involve costs. Okay, then managerial reward scheme. So this is a scheme to give some a scheme to uh, remuneration package. Manager reward scheme is a remuneration package for managers, and normally is incur very high cost. For example, the giving bonus, salary increment, okay, then maybe incentive, okay, and maybe giving some portion of shares under ESOS, employee share option scheme. So all these package under one remuneration package as a reward scheme, so that the managers will become as part of the company and as being owner and part of the company, so it can motivate the managers to work harder, to put more effort, to make the company is in a good conditions, a better performance. Okay, the cost of implementing control devices, this is the second one, which is the direct agency cost, which the establishments of a contracts. So the set of contract must lay out what is the terms and conditions in terms of the job descriptions of the managers, together with the benefits in kind that the managers will get. Okay. Then also hiring of the non-executive directors as a member of the board that will oversee the performance of the executive directors. So the executive directors normally is a board member that will work full-time in the company, and they are responsible for the company's operations. Whereas the non-executive directors, normally they are not appointing as a full-time directors, but instead they will uh, oversee the performance of the executive directors in the board of directors meeting. So for that purpose, normally executive directors need to prepare some reports that to be scrutinized by the non-executive directors, and as well as give explanation in the board of directors meeting. So these non-executive directors also will appointed in various committee, okay, various committee established in a company, for example, like the audit committee. Okay, so this is the direct agency cost, and the company has to pay remuneration for the non-executive directors. Okay, the indirect agency cost is a non-monetary cost, non-monetary cost, which is the loss opportunity. But at the end, this indirect agency cost also relates to the monetary cost. For example, loss opportunity borne by shareholders. Let's say there's a project that the company uh, can bid for a tender, but the project could be risky. So here, example, when the management does not want to take risky investment in view of fear of losing jobs in case the investment turn out badly, even though the new investment expected to increase the share price or value of the firm. So means that the management doesn't want to take risks because they want to secure their positions. Because if they take risks, invest in a project which is high risk, and the project turn out badly, that would affect his or her reputation. So fear of losing job will make them resist or reluctant uh, to invest in that project. So we call it, this is as a selfish investment strategy. So by having this selfish investment strategy by the management, that makes or affect the stockholders lose the valuable opportunity. So this makes the lost opportunity borne by the shareholders. Okay. So this cost arises out of the shareholders and management, um, decisions, okay, not the shareholders but the management decisions, and it quite difficult to quantify in terms of value, because this is relates to the decisions making by the management, which at the end of the day makes the shareholders loss. Okay, control mechanisms is how to reduce agency problems. Could be various ideas or opinion. Okay, number one, establish set of contract, managerial reward scheme, board of directors, annual reports, and audited accounts. Some of these I have explained previous. Okay, by having a contract that lay down what is the uh, job description, terms and conditions, what is the duties, what is the effect if the managers does not achieve certain KPI. Okay, suggest corporate firm to act for the best interest of shareholders. Manager reward scheme is give a better remuneration package, incentive, maybe in the form of stock option plan or ESOS, employee share option schemes, or performance shares and bonus, but this incentive reward must be tied up to the KPI performance of the managers. So number three is the annual reports and audited accounts, which is requires. This is automatically under by law and Companies Act that the managers are required to prepare the annual report and ensure the annual report, the financial statements are verified by the third party, which is the auditor. Okay, board of directors means that the compositions of the board members should be consist of both the executive and the non-executive directors, and the shareholders may determine the members of the board of directors through voting. Okay, so because the shareholders will decide who will be in the board of directors member. Okay, so if shareholders believe that the firm underperforming, the firm is not in a good conditions, or management is not doing well in managing the company, so uh, the shareholders have right to remove the directors. Okay, so the shareholders also have rights to replace the removal of the directors with a new one, which may take some corrective actions. Effective board consists largely independent non-executive directors. Okay, next maybe among of the control mechanism is the giving stable dividend policy, which is to reduce the free cash flow. So this is especially for a company that has large cash ataupun cash-based business. Okay, cash-based business, they have a large cash. So according to the agency problem perspective, when the management increases the dividends, so it will reduce possibility of the management to misappropriate or misusing the firm's free cash flow. Okay, corporate control means the shareholders may put some threat of a takeover to results in a better management. Maybe not the shareholders. I mean the corporate, the company may uh, put some measures like the takeover. Okay, being takeover by another company or take over another company, threat of a takeover to the management, so that the employee will work for the betterment of the company. Okay, threat of firing to management who are not acting for the best interest of the shareholders ataupun pursue for the self-interest, which is promoting the selfish investment strategy, so you are fired. Okay, so just to make corrections on corporate control means maybe the management can inform the employees that the company may expose to the takeover and acquisitions by another company if the company is in a weak conditions. Okay, gearing ratio means that impose the management to take up a reasonable level of debt. So gearing is relates to the debt. Okay, so the company must make sure the debt to equity ratio is at the reasonable level of debt. Debt decrease the agency costs connected with free cash flow by reducing the cash flow that have to be available because the cash flow is used to pay the interest. Okay, so when a company has debt quite high, so that actually can reduce the free cash flow uh, because the cash flow available is used for the payment of the interest. So this influence of debt reflecting as the determining element company financial mix between the debt and equity. Okay, however, even though control mechanisms has put intact, the company has done a good job in trying as much as possible to reduce the agency problem, but sometimes shareholder may experience residual losses, which is the lost wealth due to divergent or bad behavior of the managers, since the agency problems can never be perfectly solved. So I leave it to you to get the answers. Why, despite of having good control mechanisms, the company still not able to 100% reducing the agency problem, and this matter still happen from time to time. So with that questions, I end our chapter 1 with thank you very much and assalamu alaikum.